Okay, so hope I'm audible to you as well as the presentations are visible to you. Okay, if there are anything, please send me a message. We'll try to sort it out. Okay, so today we will discuss about this important concept called as edge detection. So I'm using these slides prepared by George Babis. Okay, it's a course that is offered in a master's program. So I'm using the same slides, and then small modifications have been done to just make it understandable for all of us with regard to edge detection. So let me introduce some of the simple mathematical concepts. Okay. Yeah. So all of you may be knowing what is differentiation is all about. Okay, so now if you see differentiation, we represent it by dy by dx, or we express in terms of a function f dash of x. Okay, so it is actually represents a small change in y. So we represent it as delta y with regarding to a small change in x. So if delta x changes, delta y will also change. So ratio of this we call it as differentiation, and we assume that we set the limits delta x tending to 0. Okay. Now this is represented as f dash of x. Okay. So the process of differentiation involves letting the change in x becoming arbitrarily small, so that now you're able to identify how does the parameter y and x also change. This is a general way of representing differentiation. Another representation of differentiation is the thing what is being shown now below here. So here we are trying to take a signal f of x. Okay, then we are incrementing x by a small quantity h, and that will become f of x plus h. Okay? For example, you are tracking a straight line. So x is a small point on a straight line. We call it as f of x. Okay? And if you change x by a small value of h, we call it f of x plus h. So whenever the function is trying to move from f of x to f of x plus h, you take a difference of that and divide by small incremental change in x, and setting the limit h equal to 0 tending to 0, we call this as simple differentiation. Okay. Now assuming h equal to 1, so this will be now represented as f of x plus 1 minus f of x, or simply we now write it as minus 1 and 1. So I'll tell you what is this now all about. Okay. So if at all now you understand the concept of differentiation, we'll see how this differentiation can help us in understanding image processing algorithm development. Okay. So let me repeat it. Dy by dx is basically the differentiation, which can also be represented as f of x plus h minus f of x by h, and this is equal to f of x plus 1 minus f of x, and this is also expressed as minus 1 1. Okay. Yeah. Now let us go to the basics of further differentiation. So if you take y is equal to c, and if c is a constant, if you differentiate a constant, it will be equal to 0. Okay. So if you take y equal to 10, again dy by dx is equal to 0. And if you take a simple linear function y is equal to a plus bx, if you differentiate dy by dx, constant will be equal to 0, and differentiating bx will give you b. So when you take a linear function, if you differentiate that linear function, it will give us to a constant that is equal to b. Okay. Yes. Now let us see how this differentiation can help us in detecting the edge in a given image. Okay. Now let us see what is meant by edge. Now if you see this small picture of a baby sitting here, so now we are trying to draw a small line and then if you start zoom this part of the line or somewhere in this part of the line, you find that these are the hairs and this is the forehead. So you find out there is a clear demarcation between the hairs and the forehead. Okay. Now, whenever you try to track, the from the top, if you try to see the border here, we call it as an edge, or from the bottom, the border we call it as an edge. So whenever there is a change in color intensities, color values, or change in intensity values, we call this as edge. Okay. Now, because of edges, you can come across multiple objects. Suppose if you take this case of this image here, you find that the edge is basically circular in shape. You know your brain understands that it's a cork or the top of the bottle. Then if you see the bottle is having a cylindrical shape, then you tell this is the body of the bottle. And then when you come across this kind of edge, A, O, T, so you understand that it's a letter. And then there is a edge here which tells you that this is the shadow of this bottle. Okay. So now when you try to see, edges actually define the object in a given image. Suppose if your object image is completely white, it will not have any objects. So when you try to bring in objects like this, okay, that is where you identify that the lines which are able to know put when you try to introduce these lines, these now will define as these are the objects available in a given image. Okay, yes. Now, this could also be, kind of, edge. You have a multiple objects placed on a table, and then if you see these objects, you are able to only track the edges of the object. Even this also tells that there are multiple objects available in the table. Okay. Yeah. So there are multiple important features in an edge. So it could be edges, could be corners, lines, curves. Okay, and by having these edges, we are able to identify what kind of object it is all about. Okay. So if you try to understand, edge would basically have some descriptions like edge will have a direction and it will have a strength and it will also have a position. Okay. Now if you try to take this picture, what you see on the right hand side, you find that each of the pixels, whatever you see of a square box, each of them are representing a shade. So the square box here is basically white in color. The square box on the left hand side is basically gray in color. Because of the change in the intensity, you're able to now see that there's an edge available on the the diagonal edge is present there. Okay. Now this diagonal edge, okay, whatever you are able to see, we call this as direction. Okay. Then edge will also have a normal. Okay. So whenever you try to take the edge and draw a perpendicular vector to the edge, we call that as edge normal. So now this is a very important concept that we have to understand in developing an image processing algorithm. So every edge or line will have direction and also an angle. Okay. Yes. Now there are multiple kinds of edges that can be visualized in a given object. Okay, it could be a step edge wherein you find that okay the left hand side is completely black in color. Then suddenly the color changes and it becomes a white. So you come across a edge which is basically step edge. So if you see the picture here, you have all the things in black. Yeah. So we have this picture. So you find that there is an object here and this is all black and then suddenly there's a white. So you find that the black color will always be having a value equal to 0 and white color will always have an intensity is equal to 1. Okay. So that is where you're able to come across a edge, which is step edge. Now there will be a lot of changes in the gray scale of this image. So you find that there will be a lot of it not be exactly 0, it not be exactly 1. So it can keep varying from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it could also go to 10, 20, so on. But when it comes to 255, this could not this may not be 255, it will be 244, 256 and so on. Maximum will be 255. So this will constitute noise. So we call this as a step edge. Similarly, we also have a rampage. In rampage, if you see, in the previous case, if you see the straight line, what you come across here is very straight. So it is exactly changing from gray to white. But if you come see here, so it is not exactly changing from gray to white. There is a change in color. Okay. So this change in color will lead to ramp in the intensity levels. Okay? It could be a very sharp one, it could be a very long one, but still it will also have multiple noise. So we call this as a RAM kind of an edge. Okay, yeah. Yes. Now this is also called as ridge edge. Okay, so if you take in a ridge edge, so the intensity will be zero. Suddenly it will jump to one, and again it will come back to zero. So we call this as ridge, or it could be like this also. This could be also the ridge edge. So 0, 1, 0. Okay, and whenever there is noise, this could also appear like this. Noise means that the intensity keeps varying. Okay, it will not be exactly zero, or it will be exactly 255. It will have multiple changes in the intensity. In that case, we'll come across noise in an information, right? Then we also call roof edge. So edges could be like this. Okay, so it could be 0, 1, but when it is going to 1, it will be there will be small changes in the intensity variation. It will be like a ramp. Again, it will fall down. Again, it will become 0. Okay, so this is called as roof edge. So when you try to do image processing algorithm, okay, we have to now see that object in an image there will be multiple objects available. So our logic is to find out the objects and identify what kind of objects are there, okay, and then see how to segregate this object. So we are trying to now slowly get into a process called image segmentation, image enhancement, image segmentation, image classification, and characterization. Okay, so let us understand how this edge detection will help us in developing complex image processing algorithms. Okay, so if you take a image, an image will have multiple objects. When there are multiple objects available in the image, these multiple objects are visible to us because of the edge available in these objects. Suppose if the objects are all having common color, okay, common intensity levels, then you may not be able to identify between the background and the foreground. You may not be able to distinguish between multiple objects because there is an edge available in these objects. You are able to clearly demark between what are the objects available in an image, and our job is now to identify how to retrieve these objects from the image. Okay? For example, you are trying to know, we had seen an example where we are trying to see traffic signs. So we have to now see how to remove the traffic sign symbol from the given image. Okay. So to do this kind of activity, we need to understand some of the important concepts of edge detection. Okay. Yes. So this edge detection, there are multiple methods to do. Okay. One is smoothing, wherein you suppress as much noise as possible without destroying the true image. So suppose you have acquired an image, and if you see here, there are multiple changes in this. So we find that okay, these are all the random variations that come across in a given object. So we would like to make exactly 0 and 1. So this would be the object variations in a given image, and we wanted to transform it to this. So that is what we call a smoothing. Okay, or your image may be like this. Okay, this may be your image. So we find that this is a ramp edge. So you find that there is a ramp change in the intensity levels. So we know that okay, this is the clear cut demarcation between the white and the gray object. So we have to make this changes in this graph as a graph towards left hand side. So it has to be very 0 ramp and again completely white. Okay, so that is what we call the smoothing functions. An enhancement. Okay, in an enhancement, you have to now see. Suppose there are multiple objects. Assume that you are trying to capture the fruits. Okay, it could be an apple, it could be an orange, it could be grape. So apple would be red in color, orange is orange in color, grape would be purple in color. So now you have to see. You know that okay, this is all the images that are available, objects that are available, because the camera is now capturing this object. The camera may not have high resolution, and it may capture the images, and there will be a lot of variations in the images. So you have to see to identify the edges. Depending upon the edges, identify the objects, and depending upon the object, you try to enhance the color components available in the given object. Okay, that is where you try to find out enhancement process. Okay, then thresholding. Okay, thresholding is determine whether the edge pixel should be discarded as noise and which should be retained. Suppose you are able to capture an image, and then you are able to identify that okay, there is a river, and no, there is a bank, there is a lake, there is a bank, there is a road, then there is a drainage. So you have to now see how to capture the drainage part, or how to capture the road part of it. So now you have to clearly demark between drainage and the road. So that is where you have to set certain thresholding and only identify the required object, or we call it a region of interest, and that is also done using the concept of education. Okay. Then localization. So localization is okay. Now you have to understand. Okay, so you have a object. We have to now see in what location is the object available in the entire image. So you have captured an image. The object could have been on the top left corner. Object could have been the top right corner. It could be on the center. It could be at, left, right, bottom right. So you have to identify, okay, where the object is placed. So again, to identify that object, you need to know the edge information of the object. So like that, there are multiple things that you can try to perform if at all you are able to identify the edges in a given image. Now let us see how this could be done. Okay, so this is a very simple, mathematical operation. So remember, we started off this session with understanding differentiation. Let us see how differentiation can help us in identifying the edge information in a given image. Yes. Now let us take a simple example of this pictures here. So we have a picture on the top wherein you have a grayscale, white and gray. On the left, another images you have white, gray and white. Okay. Yes. Now, if you try to plot this image in terms of intensity levels, all the grayscale will have a very low value, 0. Okay, then all the white will be having a value of 255. Okay, then because there is a small transition between gray and white, you find that there's a ramp kind of an edge. Similarly, on the other side, you may find that there's a ramp kind of an edge, but if you see ideally this picture, it is like a straight, no, it's a step function. Okay, it's like it's a 0, 1, 1 and 0. Okay, but we are assuming that there is a small ramp edge coming up into picture here, so it is 0, 255 and 0. Similarly, if you take here, this is 255, again it comes back to 0 and then goes up to 255. Okay, so now this is how the intensity levels or the pixels of this image are represented. Okay, now this graph, whatever you see here, could be the first row of this entire image. So if we take the first row could be all till this point. So till this point, it is all zeros. Then from this pixel onwards to this pixel, it will all be 255, and from there it will also be again 0. So we are taking the first row, or it could be second row, it could be third row. All the rows appear same because okay, the color intensity doesn't change. And now, if I take the differentiation of this image, so if I differentiate this image, okay, if I differentiate this entire row, okay, so we know that differentiating a constant will be giving you 0. Similarly, this constant, so if you take that line here, if you differentiate this also will give you 0. But because there is a ramp function, this ramp function is given as t. Okay, so we are trying to take it as a t. T is a variable now. So what is differentiation of a variable? Hello? So whenever there's a sudden jump, it will again, it will give rise to a small peak like this. Okay. Now, since this is going from 0 to 1, it's a positive peak, you will have a positive peak like this. Since it is coming from 1 to 0, you will have, when you differentiate this, it will again give you a negative pulse. Similarly here, since this is coming from 1 to 0, it will give a negative pulse, and since this is going from 0 to 1, it will give you a positive pulse. Okay. So now what happens is, to identify, if at all you are able to take an image and you take the first row of this, first row of the entire image, and you differentiate all the first row of an entire image, okay, if at all you're able to get a pulse, okay, or a spike here, and you're able to get a negative spike here, now we find out that there is a maximum here and there's a minima here. So whenever you come across a maxima, okay, whenever you come across a maxima, it corresponds to change in intensity levels. Similarly, whenever you come across a minima, it implies that there is a change in intensity levels. Okay, so whenever you come across a maximum peak of spike, it indicates that the intensity level is changing from 0 to 1. Before, if the spike is negative, it implies the intensity is changing from 1 to 0. Okay, now this is what we know. This is how we identify the edges given in a given image. So the basic principle is, you take an image, and if at all you want to find out the edge in a given image, differentiate that entire row, differentiate all the pixels available in the image, and you identify whether there is a maxima or a minima. Okay, now if you take only this half, okay, only half of this, so if you differentiate this, you will only get a positive peak. Or if you take the next half of the image and differentiate it, you get a negative peak. So if it is positive peak, it implies it's a change in from 0 to 1, okay, intensity. And if a negative peak, it implies it's a change from 1 to 0. Now, there is another method of detecting the edges in a given image, and that is where we come across zero crossings. What is zero crossing? In zero crossing, what happens is, so let us do the first derive. If you differentiate the first row, you may get a positive spike and negative spike. Okay. Similarly, take this and again you differentiate. Okay, if you differentiate this, you will again get a positive spike for this and a negative spike for this part. See, if at all you take this first different derivative and again you differentiate this. Whenever the input goes from 0 to 1, it will again lead to a positive spike, and whenever the input goes from 1 to 0, it will again give you a negative spike. But what happens is, between the positive spike and negative spike, you find that there is a concept called zero crossing. So whenever you come across a zero crossing, it indicates that there's an edge available at that location. So there are two ways of identifying, okay, edges in a given image. One is either you perform first derivative and identify the maxima or minima, or you perform second derivative, identify maxima or minimum. Okay, so these are the two methods by which we can identify the edges in a given image. Okay, yes. Now, I hope you are able to understand these concepts. Okay, yeah. So let us now summarize. See, to identify objects in a given image, we need to know the edges of these objects. So edge basically comes into picture whenever there's a change in intensity levels. Okay. Now, whenever there's a change in intensity levels, we know that there's an edge available between these two objects. So to identify the edges between these two objects, the method that is that we discussed was differentiation. So there is first derivative and second derivative. So when you perform first derivative, you find that you come across a positive peak. Okay, if your input edge intensity changes from 0 to 1, and you get a negative peak if your edge intensity changes from 1 to 0. Okay, that is one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is, okay, you differentiate twice, first derivative and second derivative. When you perform the second derivative, okay, you find that there is a zero crossing occurring between the positive spike and negative spike. So whenever there is a zero crossing occurring, we know that at that point there is an edge available. Okay, so that is another way of identifying the edges in a given image. Now let us see how to perform this using MATLAB. Okay, yes. So we'll again come back to the concept of differentiation. So this is the simple example. I want you to really understand this, how does this work. Yeah. Okay, so what we have again come back to the concept of differentiation. We find that f dash of x is f of x plus h minus f of x by h, and this is also equal to f of x plus 1 minus f of x, okay, at h equal to 1. Or we can simply represent this as minus 1 plus 1. So minus 1 f of x is minus 1 and f of x plus 1 is plus 1. So minus 1 plus 1. Now we will now call this as a mask, and now what we will do is between minus 1 and plus 1, we will introduce a 0 and we call it as centered 0, centered x. Okay. So now let us take a mask of minus 1, 0, 1. So we are now trying to define a matrix n of minus 1, 0, 1. Okay. Minus 1, 0, 1. Minus 1, 0, 1 implies we are trying to represent the first derivative in terms of a matrix called minus 1, 0, 1, where minus 1 implies f of minus f of x and 1 implies f of x plus 1, and taking the difference of that is what we call as, okay, a mask, and we are centering it at x is equal to 0. Yes. Now let us see how to use this mask and identify edge in a given set of data. Okay. Now let us take for example S1. Okay, S1 is a row. Okay, assume that it is the first row of a given image. We find that the first row has an intensity value from 12, 12, 12, 12, and so on. Suddenly it is changing from 12 to 24, 24, 24, 24. So we find that there's a step edge. Okay, it's a step edge now. So to identify whether there is an edge available in this entire row, we are using this mask. How are we using this mask now? Let us take this mask minus 1, 0, 1, and we'll try to first put it here upon this minus 1, 0, 1. So when I try to put this mask here and I multiply, minus 1 into 12 will give you minus 12. 12 into 0 will give you 0. Again, 12 into 1 will give you 12. And when I add all these things, it will again give me 0. So what happens now? I'll be able to write this output as 0 here. Okay. Now, since we are starting from 12, we simply put 0 here, because though if I try to take minus 1, 0, 1, and I will place it here, this will be minus 1, 0, 1. So I may not know what is the value of pixel S1 here. So since this is the boundary, I don't start from here, I start from this point onwards. Okay. Okay. So see, logic is, let me repeat it once again so that you are able to follow the concept. Yeah. So we will take minus 1 and we'll put minus 1 here. Then 0, we'll put 0 here. Then we'll take 1, we'll put 1 here. So minus 1 into 12 will give you minus 12. 0 into 12 will give you 0. 1 into 12 will give you 12. So when I add 12 plus minus 12, it will give you 0. That 0 is substituted at this point. Yeah. So you're able to get 0 at this point. Now let us shift this mask by 1 pixel. So again, we'll put minus 1 here. Okay. 0 here and 1 here. Okay. So minus 1 into 12 will give you minus 12, 0 and 12. Again, 12 minus 12 will give you 0. So you are able to get one more 0 here. So like that, if you keep on doing this, you find that at this point, it will give you a value of 12. And at this point, you're going to get a value of 10. Since the intensity is now changing from 0 to 1, you're able to find that there's a positive peak. All zeros, and there's a positive peak that is coming here. Because of the positive peak, you find that there is an edge at this location. So we identify edge by basically running this mask on this image, on this row. Similarly, if you take this example down, it is 24, 24, 24, 24, 12, 12, 12, 12, and so on. Again, take this mask minus 1, 0, 1 mask, and again keep running on the entire thing. You now find that all of them will be zeros. Again, all of them will be zeros. Only at this point where there is a change in intensity, you find that a value of minus 12 and minus 12 is obtained. That indicates that there is a negative peak. Since it's a negative peak, it implies that the edge is changing from high to low. Okay. Similarly, by having this mask, you're able to identify the ramp kind of an edge. See, the ramp kind of edge is basically now like 3, 6, 6, 3. So that means it is now ramp. Here it was 12, 12, so it's a complete positive peak. But here it is 3, 6, again 6, again 3. Okay? So you find that it's like a ramp function. Similarly, here you see that it's a roof edge. So now it is 0, again goes to 12, comes back to 0, again goes back to minus 12, again comes back. So it's like a roof edge kind of an edge. Okay. So by having this simple mask, which represents the differentiation per process of a function f of x, we are able to identify the different edges in a given data. Okay. Is it clear to all of you? Yes. Have you understood this? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay. So I hope Aditya you are followed. Okay. Yeah. So remember, finding out an edge is a simple mathematical operation. That is, it is like differentiating the pixels available in a given image. So when you differentiate the pixels in a given image, you will be able to find out the edge. And there are two methods of differentiation. One is first derivation and then second derivation. If at all you are restricting it to first derivation, so you may find that you are able to identify the positive edge as well as negative edge by finding the maxima and minima. Now, if at all you are performing second derivative, there will be zero crossing occurring. Because of zero crossing occurring, you will find that there is a edge available at that place. Okay, now let us continue this discussion. Let us take few more examples and understand. Okay, let us see what is the second derivative is all about. Second derivative is df square by dx square. Okay, and you will find that because of this tending to zero, you may find that there is a zero crossing occurring. Okay, let us take a simple example also. But in second derivative, now what happens is, see, f double dash of x is now equal to f dash of x plus h minus f dash of x by h. So this is first derivative. First derivative, again taking the difference of that, it will give you, the second derivative, which is also equal to f dash of x plus 1 minus f dash of x. If you start substituting what is f dash of x plus 1 and f dash of x, okay, you will be able to find that it is f of x plus 2 minus 2 into f of x plus 1 plus f of x at h equal to 1. And this is now corresponding to a mask like 1 minus 2, 1. So if at all your mask is minus 1, 0, 1, then it is first derivative mask. If the mask is 1 minus 2, 1, it is second derivative mask. So if we can remember the simple basics mathematical aspects, that is what is going to help us in identifying the edges in a given image. Okay, so if somebody asks you what is mask, what is the derivative, okay, in matrix, in image processing, you should tell that first derivative, the mask is minus 1, 0, 1. Second derivative, the mask is 1 minus 2, 1. Okay, so we know how we have got this mask because it is representing a simple first derivative and second derivative. Now let us see, using this, how do you design or identify mask? Let us take a simple example here. So we have taken all this, it's intensity are 10, 10, 10, 10, and again 20, 20, 20, 20. So it is like a step function. Now let us we represent that as f of x. So this is the first row of a given image where all the pixels are zeros, and then here pixels are all 20. That means it is like appearing like a step function. Now let us see what happens if you take f dash of x. F dash of x is you are having the mask as minus 1, 0, 1. So if you start applying the mask on this, now you find that it will always zeros, and it will be 10 here, and again it will always zeros. So since you are able to get a positive maxima, okay, or you are able to get a maxima here, it implies the intensity changes from 0 to 1. Okay, it is going from low to high. Okay, that is what you get with regarding to first derivative. Now let us do the same thing with regarding to second derivative. So if you take the second derivative here, okay, that is the mask set is now 1 minus 2, 1. So what is the meaning of 1 minus 2, 1? Multiply 10 by 1, multiply 10 by minus 2, multiply 10 by 1, and add all of them, and you will get 0. Similarly, next step is multiply 10 by 1, multiply 10 this 10 by minus 2, and multiply this 10 by 1. Again, add all of them, you will be able to get 0. So if you keep on doing like this, you find that at this position, it will be equal to 10 and minus 10. So if you see here, there is a zero crossing occurring here. Why is there a zero crossing occurring here? It is positive plus. Okay, first it is plus 10. Suddenly it is changing to minus 10. So whenever the signal intensity changes from plus 10 to minus 10, that means there is a zero crossing that is occurring in between this. Okay, and that is what you basically call it as second derivative. Okay, yes. Now the advantage or the difference between first derivative and second derivative here is, okay, see, you are able to find out that there is a 10 here, and again there is a 0. This 10, what you are able to get is basically now going to tell you that yes, this is because of this 20, you are able to get a 10 value here. Okay? Otherwise, all of them are zeros. Again, all of them are zeros. But now when you get a 10 here, you may not know whether to consider mask on the right hand side or edge on the left hand side. Okay? So again, you have to now consider the edge in between these two things, and somewhere it may be here. But that is not the case when you take a second derivative. Okay, it very clearly tells that, okay, the region between 10 and 20, that is where there's an edge existing. Okay, so that is the advantage of using second derivative. Okay, yes. So using second derivative, again, what is the mass set now? 1 minus 2, 1. You find that if you take the step edge, again, there is a zero crossing occurring between minus 12 and 12. So you find that there is a zero crossing here, and because of zero crossing available here, you tell that there's an edge. Similarly, you see that there's a zero crossing occurring here, again there's an edge. Similarly, you find that there's a zero crossing occurring here, zero crossing occurring here. Okay, so that means it is changing from minus 3 to plus 3. When it is changing from minus 3 to plus 3 after 3 pixels, that implies it's a ramp edge. See, this is minus 3 and this is plus 3, and zero crossing is occurring after 3 pixels of zeros. So this implies it's a ramp edge. Okay, and if you take a roof edge between minus 12 Okay, and plus 12. See, this should be plus 12. Between minus 1 and plus 12, there is 24. So again, this implies that's a roof edge. Okay, yes, minus 12, 24, and again 24 minus 12. Okay, it's correct. Minus 12 to 24 and 24 to minus 12. So implies there's a roof edge kind of a pattern available in that given image. So this is all about your edge detection. Okay, yeah. So it is actually represented like this. So if you have a function f of x, this is your f of x. If you differentiate your function f of x, again this will be just like a noise. And now you find out that you are actually performing using a kernel edge. You are convolving f with edge, and when you convolve f with edge, you find that there is a whatever edge is available here, you are able to identify that edge. Okay? It is actually a convolution operation that is basically being done. Okay. So if you do a second derivative, you may find that yes, there is a edge available here. Okay, so because your kernel is now dh by dx. Okay, this is to identify zero crossings. Okay, yeah. Now, since we are talking about images, see whatever we discussed till now is basically assuming that these are all these individual rows in a given image. But when you talk about image, it will be having both x direction as well as y directions. So in that case, you have to have gradient operations. So edge detection using first derivative represents gradient operations. So in gradient operation, we represent as delta f or grad f. Okay. So here we try to perform differentiation along the x-axis, differentiation along the y-axis also. Okay. So you should be able to have a mask set that can take along the x-axis. You should also have a mask set that can take along the y-axis also. So combining both of this mask set, then 2D edge detection is possible. So now let us understand a simple mathematical concept, that is, okay. So the magnitude of the edge or grad of f is basically given as df square by x plus d by f square by y. Okay, and the direction is given by df by dy by df by dx. Okay, so you will be able to now use the process of magnitude and direction to identify the edges available in a given image. Now here, what happens? Let us now just skip through this. Yeah. Now, when you talk about the gradient operations along the x-axis and along the y-axis, see whatever discussed, this is the kind of expression with regarding to first derivative along the x-axis. This is again the derivative along the y-axis. Then you combine both of them together, and then you come across a definite mask called two-dimensional mask, and that is defined by a scientist called Prewitt. So we call this as Prewitt mask. So here, instead of having, you see, in the one-dimensional mask, we had minus 1, 0, 1. Now here, what they're doing is they're trying to have minus 1, 0, 1, minus 1, 0, 1, minus 1, 0, 1. So they're trying to process three. They're trying to combine three, masks, and this is basically along the x-axis. Okay? Then if you see here, instead of minus 1, 0, 1 on the rows, we are having minus 1, 0 on the columns. Since they are taking across the columns, we call it as y mask. Okay, this is x mask because you are like taking minus 1, 0, 1 on the x-axis, again minus 1, 0, 1 on the x-axis, minus 1, 0, 1 on the x-axis, and here it will become y mask, minus 1, 0, 1, minus 1, 0, 1, minus 1, 0, 1. So if at all your mask set is of this form, we call it as Prewitt operations or Prewitt edge detection operation. Similarly, we also have an operator called Sobel. Okay? Here, the mask set is like minus 1, 0, 1, minus 2, 0, 2, minus 1, 0, 1. Okay? And along the y-axis is minus 1, 0, 1, minus 2, 0, 1, and minus 1, 0, 1. So this is a mask set according to Sobel operator. Okay? So there are two kinds of mask set that are available. One is called as your Prewitt, the other one is called as Sobel. Similarly, there are many other mask sets, but right now we will restrict to only two kinds of operators. Okay, which is minus 1, 0, 1 mask called as Prewitt, and Sobel mask, it is minus 1, minus 1, 0, 1, and minus 2, 0, 2 is the another kind of a mask set. Okay, yes. Using this mask set, let us see how you can perform edge detection operation. Okay, yes. Now let us use this simple private operator here. Okay, so we have -1, 0, 1, which is mx, that is x directional mass, -1, 0, 1 as the y directional mass, and we'll try to apply both the mass separately and identify what is magnitude and what is direction. Okay, let us now just stop here and ask you whether you have followed any doubt you have. Anybody? I hope you are able to follow, right? ಯಶವಂತ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಇದೀರಪ್ಪ? ಯಶವಂತ್ ಕುಮಾರ್, ನಿಮ್ದು ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಿಸಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ನನಗೆ.
Sir, am I audible?
ಯಾ ಹೇಳಿ. ಎಸ್ ಯಶವಂತ್ ಕುಮಾರ್.
Yes, sir.
Which college are you from, Yashwant?
Sir, Saramveti, sir.
Okay, which semester you are?
Now 7th, sir.
Okay, good. Now, did you follow what is this mask is all about?
Yes, sir.
What is -1, 0, 1 mask? It is one dimensional or two dimensional mask?
-1, 0, 1, sir.
Ah,
Sir, it's a 1D mass.
okay. If it is 2D mask, what will be the value of that mask now? What will be the size of the mask? It will be 3 cross 3, correct?
It's a 2D mask.
If it is 2D mask, what will be the dimension now? What will be the size of the mask now? Mask size.
Mass size, it's
ಇವಾಗ ಒನ್ ಡೈಮೆನ್ಷನಲ್ ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ -1, 0, 1, so it is 1 cross 3,
it's 2D,
correct?
1 minus 2.
In 2D mask, the size of the mask will be 3 cross 3. Okay. In 1D mask, the size of the mask will be 1 cross 3, -1, 0, 1. Okay. In a 2D mask, the size of the mask will be 3 cross 3, -1, 0, 1, -1,
Okay.
0, 1, -1, 0, 1. That is your x direction marks, mx. My will be again
Okay.
-1, 0, 1 along the column, -1, 0, 1 along the column, -1, 0, 1 along the column. That is your y direction mask. So it is actually 3 cross the mask. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So now you understood what is the relationship between differentiation, that is first derivative, and second derivative and mask. Okay, Bhumika. Bhumika. ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ್ ಕುಮಾರ್.
ಸರ್
ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿದೆಯಪ್ಪ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸು?
ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿದೆ ಸರ್.
So you should now know the relationship between differentiation and the mask. Alva?
ಹಾಂ ಸರ್.
Okay. So, okay, fine then. No problem. Anybody having a doubt before we could go into the MATLAB programming?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, yes.
So for a 2D mask, why
Ah.
is it 3 cross 3 and not 2 cross 3?
Okay, now what happens, if you take an input image, it will be a very big size. Okay, input image could be 512 by 512. Okay, so when you start running this operation on the entire image, it will take a lot of time if you take one cross 3 mask. Because every row you have to do it, every pixel you have to keep computing it. Now, when you take two-dimensional mask, what happens is, see, the edge may not be always on the x side. It will not be vertical. It may not be horizontal. It may also be diagonal also. Since your image is a 2D is, the vector, 2D is, it's a 2D, dimension. What happens now? To identify the edges along all the directions, okay, you need to have a 3 cross 3 mask, so that you will be able to capture the edges along the x-axis. You will be able to capture edges along the y-axis. You will be able to even capture the edges along the diagonal axis also. Now, why they are making it 3 cross 3? If you make it as 5 cross 5, or if you are making it as 4 cross 4, you make it as 8 cross 8, that is also fine. But now what happens is, okay, you may lose the edge information if it is very big, okay, because you are trying to multiply all of them and you are making it as only one single pixel. So there may be multiple edges available in a 4 cross 4 matrix, or you may, if you take a 5 cross 5 matrix, or if you take a 8 cross 8 matrix, within that 8 cross 8 pixel size, there will be multiple edges. So you may lose information of all the edges. Okay. So by making a matrix of 3 cross 3, it basically you are able to increase the resolution of capturing the edges. Okay. Yes, that is the reason why it is made as 3 cross 3.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So anybody else having any kind of other doubts? Because you should understand this concept. Okay. Now let us go back. Yeah. To this. So here, let us see how we can work out on this process. So, see, we are taking the, if at all you are having an image and you want to, identify the edges available in that image, the process is very simple. Okay. Now, you, let me make it very clear. Okay. If at all you want to find out the edges available in a given image, okay. See, by identifying the edges, you are only telling how many edges are available in an image. You are not identifying the objects, because one object may have multiple edges. Okay. So by just computing edges, you are not identifying the object available in a given image. Your first step is to identify the object in a given image. The first step is to identify the edges in an image. Once you identify the edges in an image, then you identify the intensity levels within these edges. Then you see how these edges are all related. No, they're all positioned, placed. Depending upon that, you identify objects. So by just detecting the edge in a given image, you will not be able to identify the objects. But to identify the object, the first step is edge detection. Now let us see how is edge detection taken up. In edge detection, what happens is, okay, if at all you are trying to run edge detection process on an image, there are two mask sets available. Okay, one is called as MX mask set, the other one is called as MY mask set. Okay, we call as mask or simply call as kernel. Okay, we call as mask or kernel, but in image processing we call it as mask, MX mask and MY mask. So we take an input image and then we try to perform convolution operation between the input image and MX matrix. When you do this, you will be able to extract all the edges along the x-axis. Okay, yes, and that is what we got as gradient operator, and we get all the edges that are only having directions along the x-axis. Okay, yes. Now, after that, you take the original image and again perform what? Again perform the edge operation along the y-axis. In the sense, you try to use MY mask. Okay? When you start using the MY mask, you are now trying to identify all the edges along the y direction. Okay, yes. So by performing the mask operation along the x direction and the y direction, we will be actually generating two output images. First output image will have all the directions along the x-axis. The second image will have all the directions along the y-axis. So combining both of them, you will be able to identify what would be the number of edges available in a given image. Okay, and that is what is the final output. So edge detection is actually a two-step process, or it could be taken a three-step process. In the first step, what we do is we run the mask along the image on the x direction to identify the gradient of image along the x-axis. First step. Second step is take the original image and run the y direction mask and identify the gradient or identify the edges along the y-axis, and you generate the image. So now we have two images by performing two steps. Now what the third step, what you do is combine the gradient of first image, gradient of second image, and identify the edges along all the directions. When you do it, you'll be able to even get the magnitude as well as the phase information, and that is what is going to basically complete the edge detection process. Okay. Again, so if at all you have a doubt, let me take it up. Otherwise, let's continue. Have you followed, all of you? Karthik, have you followed this? What is edge processing? How to find out edges in a given image? Karthik, ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ ನಿಮಗೆ?
ಹಲೋ ಸರ್.
ಕಾರ್ತಿಕ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಪ್ಪ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ?
ಎಸ್ ಸರ್, ಎಸ್ ಸರ್, ಎಸ್ ಸರ್.
ಏನಪ್ಪ ಎಡ್ಜ್ ಡಿಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹೌ ಮೆನಿ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ಎಡ್ಜ್ ಡಿಟೆಕ್ಷನ್?
ಸರ್,
How many steps are there in edge detection?
3 sir.
First step is along the x direction. Second step
Yeah,
is
second one along the y direction. Third is diagonal.
Third diagonal up. Third is combining both x and y. You get the finite edges now.
Phase and
Magnitude and phase you will be able to get.
Yes sir.
Okay. Yes.
Yes sir.
So hope all of you are very clear about this process. Okay.
Yes sir.
Okay. Okay. Let us go back now. Yeah, we are taking now a simple example and we are trying to run this operation here. So first we will try to do the y operation. -1, 0, 1, -1, 0, 1, -1, 0, 1. Okay. -1, 0, 1. So that means you are trying to take 38 into -1 and 14 into 0 and 12 into 1. Okay, -1, 0, 1. Again, -66 into 1, -66, 35 into 0 and 15 into 1. Okay, again 65 into -1, 64 into 0, 42 into 1. And now when you try to do all these things, you will get an output of 16. So you get the edges along the axis equal to 16. That means you are now trying to take this 16 and you are substituting that in place of 35. Please understand, you are placing the mask on this entire 3x3 matrix and identifying the pixel value at the middle of this axis, middle of the of the image. So instead of 35, now it will be equal to 16. Okay, along the x-axis, y-axis. Now, similarly, what we do, we take the x mask set, -1, 0, 1. So -38, okay, into 66 into 0 plus 65. Okay, so we try to run this. And again, we find that what will be the value of the pixel along the middle. So it is at this point, at 35. Now we find that if you run the mask set along the y-axis, 35 pixel is now generating an output equal to 16 along the y-axis. Again, 35 along the x, if you try to run the mask along the x-axis, it will be equal to now 18. Now combining 16 and 18, you will now identify what would be the actual value of this pixel here, and that is what is going to give you the edge information. But before that, what happened? There is one more very important activity that is being done. So now you identify direction. So direction is theta is tan inverse of 16 by 18. 16 is basically your fy by fx. Okay, fy by fx will give you direction which is equal to around 42 degrees. That means if at all you are having a edge that is going along this direction, along this 35, okay, there is a normal to that edge and that is placed at 42 degrees. So let me make it very clear. If at all you get the angle of an edge and if it is equal to 42 degrees, see now the point is at 35 point. Okay, for this this pixel, okay, we are trying to understand the process. You are now trying to tell that the angle is 42 degrees. That means what? That implies that if I draw a vector, okay, so this is the if I draw this is the center point. Now, if I try to take 42 degrees from the x-axis, and along this 42 degrees, if I draw a vector here, if I draw a vector like this at 42 degrees, perpendicular to that vector, that means this, that is where the edge is actually present. So please understand, let me repeat it. See, we have just done the computation of fy and fx for pixel 35. And we found that fx is equal to 18, fy is equal to 16, and we are able to find out the direction angle which is equal to 42 degrees. What is that 42 degrees implies? 42 degrees implies that if at all I consider this pixel position, okay, and along this as x as a reference axis, if I take 42 degrees from here, and if I draw a vector, which is of 42 degrees like this, perpendicular to that vector, you find that there is an edge available in the image. Similarly, what I can do, I can take 38 as my center axis. Again, I can run my mask along this direction. Okay, if I run this mask along this direction and again I compute the angle, it will again give me 42 degrees because this entire thing is of similar line. This is almost the same line. Okay. Okay. Similarly, for 42 also, you find that the angle is equal to 42 degrees. Suppose if I take 35 degrees and find the angle, and if it is 42 degrees, and if I take 35 and find the angle for that to be equal to 48 degrees, that means the edge is not straight, it is basically no like this, sorry. So if I take the degrees, and for the 38, for the pixel 38, if I derive the angle as 48 degrees, and for 35 it is equal to 35 degrees, that means it implies that the edge, whatever you find, it may be like this. That means this is how edge would look like. This is at 48 degrees, and this is at 42 degrees. Sorry, this 42 degrees. Yeah, your angle may be like this. So it would be, your edge is, your object is having edge, like this. This would be the object edge. Okay. So by identifying the angle of all the the gradient, you are able to identify in what direction the edge is trying to move. Okay, whether it is going up or it is going down can be identified by identifying the object, by identifying the angle information from the fy and fx. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So if you see here, we have taken an input image, and we are trying to find out the, we are applying the mask on the x-axis, x direction only, and we are able to get the gradient along the x. Similarly, we are applying the mask along the y direction, and we are able to get the gradient along the y direction. So now if you see, you are able to find out the edges along the x and the edges along the y. This is what you try to get. Okay, now what happens if you get all of them? Then what you do is, let us go back. After getting the images along the x and y directions, so now you just add them by taking this mod operator, okay? Or you try to do this square root operator and then get it. But the simplest way of doing it is you take the mod operation of both the images and simply add them, and you will be able to get the final edge detected output. Okay. Yes. Now, if you try to take up certain threshold levels and then start identifying, okay, anything above threshold should be made equal to 0, anything below threshold should be able to equal, you return it, you find that you will be able to get back only this kind of images or objects. So first step is you identify the edges, and then you do thresholding, you will be able to find out the objects that are available in the image. Remember in the last class we were talking about operation called IM close, delete, thinning, okay, like that. So now once you're able to get the edge, by performing those simple operations, you will be able to identify all the objects available in a given image. Okay. Yeah. So this is another example. Okay. So you are having an input image, you are able to run the operator along the x-axis, and now you are able to run the operator along the y-axis. Then combining both of them, you will be able to get all the edges available in a given image. Okay. Combining basically is either use this function or this process, or simply take mod of both and add them. Okay. Yes. So here if you see, you are able to take an image, and then you are able to identify the humans in a given image, or you are able to identify the animals in a given image. So here again you are trying to do this gradient operations, and accordingly you can find out whether the object is either human or animal. Okay. Now if at all you want to get more the data with regarding to image processing, you can visit this website, Berkeley Segmentation Database. Lot of images are available, which are all standard images for you to carry out multiple examples and multiple research activities. So what happens is in edge detection, okay, when you try to perform edge detection, okay, see this lizard, whatever you come across, see there are multiple edges available in this lizard. Okay, there are a lot of changes in the intensity, and it is now trying to change the color of it according to the background that is available there. So now when you try to do this edge detection process, you will not be able to identify the lizard and the background, because almost all of them are almost similar to the structure of the lizard. Okay, so you have to identify what kind of mask set that I'm supposed to use to get a exact object available in the image. So now what happens whenever you come up with such kind of scenarios, your edge detection may not be able to help you out in getting the actual object in the given image. Now, if you take the another example here, see, this is the object that we have, okay, and you're able to get the gradient. Then, if you try to set the threshold levels, no, sometimes setting a low threshold level will be able to give you the objects in a given image. Okay, suppose if you set a very high threshold level, your object would be lost. So, the selection of the threshold levels also plays an important role in identifying the objects in a given image. Now, why I am discussing all this is because, see, in the last class we had processed multiple images, almost 20 images we processed. In certain cases, we were able to exactly get the traffic symbol, traffic sign. But in some images, the traffic signs were not identified. That is basically because we are able to perform edge detection and the threshold levels are supposed to be properly set. If you don't set the threshold levels properly, then it may again lead to loss of data. Okay. Again, here, if you see here, the edge thinning and linking. Okay. Now, once you are able to identify the edges, you are supposed to thin down all the edges, and then you have to link all the missing edges now. You have to see how to link all the missing edges. When you try to link all the missing edges, then only you'll be able to get the object identified. So this is another very important thing: how to link or how to thin the edges. Okay. So now this is some of the basics of edge detection. Let us now see how to work with this MATLAB program. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So to understand the activity of edge detection, so I'll just go to this helper. See on the top, I'm typing edge detection. So I'll be able to get a helper with regarding to edge detection. So here, if you see in this program, they are reading this image called coins. So I is equal to IM coins.png and IM show of I, it will display this image. Then they are trying to perform the edge detection using both operations called Sobel and Canny. So to perform edge detection, the function that is available in MATLAB is edge. So when you use this function edge, so remember what happens is you are actually performing three steps. The first step is you are applying the mask along the x-axis, then mask along the y-axis, then you're able to identify two gradient output images. Then if you combine those two output images, you're able to get the edge detected output. Okay? And in a Sobel, we know that the mask set is -1, 0, 1, -2, 0, 2, and -1, 0, 1 is the mask set that is available in Sobel. Okay. Similarly, we know what is the operator in Pervit. Same thing will also be available for Canny. Okay. Now, what they have done is to define what kind of algorithm you are supposed to use. You are using Sobel as the first and Canny as the second. Now, if you see here, BW1 is the edge detector output using Sobel. BW2 is the edge detector output using Canny. Then they are trying to show both the images using a function called IMShowPair. See, all these days they are using a function called what? IMShow. Now there is another function called IMShowPair, wherein you are able to put BW1 and BW2, and you are supposed to include this type montage. Okay, so only then this will work. Okay, so when you use this function and then you try to put these images together, and then you put a title there, title Sobel first one, and give a space, and then Canny. Okay, so you find that the first image is what is Sobel, the second is Canny. Now if you try to observe these images, you find that within this coin there are further multiple edges available. So within this coin there are multiple edges available there. So even the the advantage of Canny operators, even those edges are also detected by Canny. But Sobel, those edges are not completely detected by Sobel operator. So now if you see, okay, with regarding to detecting the circle kind of a feature, Canny operator is better than Sobel operator. And now you have to see, take a different image. Now wherein now there are no circles or disk. it may be vertical and horizontal lines. Then you have to say whether which is better, whether Sobel or Canny. Okay, you have to start experimenting this process. Okay, so now we have understood the simple concept of what is edge detection and how to perform edge detection, and we also seen how to use a simple MATLAB code to perform edge detection. Okay, now why are we discussing all this is because the program that I had sent across to you yesterday or day before yesterday, that is on traffic sign detection, there are errors or there are limitations in that program. So we are trying to see how to improvise that program by understanding the basics of mathematics as well as image processing. That is the reason why we are discussing this activity. Okay, is it clear to all of you? Yeah. So now if somebody asks you what is edge detection, so you should be able to immediately tell edge detection is a process wherein you identify mask set, X gradient mask and Y gradient mask, and identify the edges available in a given image. And there are multiple types of edge detection process. Of the three of them, the three important ones are Prewitt, Sobel, and Canny. These are three different operators or techniques available for edge detection in image processing. Right? Okay. And I'll show you how to use this edge detection. So the simple command is edge. Okay, and you type what kind of operator you would like to work with. So now if you go to MATLAB and then you type for example help edge. Yeah. Now, if you see the operator edge, it basically defines the entire functionality of edge. Okay, it could be Prewitt, Sobel, Roberts, Laplacian, and Gaussian, zero crossing methods. That is now your second derivative method, or Canny. Okay. Now to invoke all of them, you can use for Sobel, you can use Sobel as a keyword there. If at all you want to invoke Prewitt method, you should use Prewitt as a keyword here. If at all you want to invoke Roberts, again you have to invoke a method called Roberts. And then if you want to invoke Laplacian or Gaussian method, you have to put type log here. Or if you're using zero crossing, you have to again put zero cross, and set the other parameters like threshold and edge. Okay. Then Canny, you have to put the type Canny. Okay. So using these methods, you can identify what are the different edge detection methods available. Okay. So according to MATLAB, what are the methods that are available now? Canny is one, zero crossing is second. Okay, Laplacian or Gaussian or log is the third. Okay, then we have Roberts, Prewitt, and Sobel. So there are almost 6 different methods or techniques for edge detection in MATLAB. Okay, so this is about edge detection process. Now let us quickly go through one more very important concept, and that is what we call it as histogram. Okay. Let us discuss about the concept of histogram. Okay, yes, let us see what is this histogram is all about, because this is another simple mathematical technique which is related to your probability, and this will also help us in performing some simple image processing algorithms. Okay, yes, what is the meaning of histogram? Okay, yes. So if you try to take a simple image, again, the simple image, and if you take only the part of this eye, you find that this is all various pixels available in the given image. Okay, it could be 0, or it could be white, it could be gray, or whatever it is. Yeah. I'll skip through this. Yeah. Let us see what is meant by histogram. Okay. Yes. Now let us take a simple image. This is a simple image now. Okay. This simple image is a 3x3 sub-image, wherein the first color is dark gray, black, again dark gray, white, again dark gray, black, black, again light gray, dark gray. So these are the various intensities of a simple 3x3 image. Now what is the meaning of histogram? Histogram is basically a plot of all the pixels with regarding to Okay, all the intensities and number of intensities on the y-axis. All the intensity levels and number of intensities is what is the plot that is going to give you tell about histogram. Now let us take for example from black to white. From black to white, let us see how many shades are there. Okay, so we have taken all the possible shades from black to white. So here we are assuming that there are almost around 8 different shades, white and black, then again gray. All of them are gray scale. So now if you try to take that between white and black, there are 8 different shades available. Now from this given image, the black, if you take, how many pixels are there as black? There are 3 pixels. So we are able to plot it as 3 pixels now. Black shade, the intensity is 0. So the number of pixels with 0 intensity are 3. Then the number of pixels with intensity equal to 255, okay, which is white, is equal to only 1 because there is only 1 available here. Then similarly, if you take here, so the number of pixels with this intensity, okay, maybe it could be 120 or whatever it is, that there are only 2 of them. Okay, it could be 2 of them. Okay, somewhere, yeah, some two of them. Then the intensity with this levels are again 2 of them. So you're able to put it here. Then again, the intensity number of pixels with light gray shades are only 1. So you're able to put. So a plot of number of pixels on the y-axis and the intensity levels on the x-axis, we call it as an histogram plot. Now, why is this important? Let us understand that. Okay. Now here you are taking a image of a bridge, and there is a water flow. Then there's a bridge here and a small house here. If you try to plot the histogram of this, what is histogram now? You are taking all the shades, all the pixel intensities from 0 to 255 and finding out how many pixels are having completely dark. So you find that because it is 0 means it is completely black. There are large number of pixels which are all completely dark, and there are very less number of pixels which are completely white. Now, when you try to see such kind of images, that will be looking very dark. Now, if you want to increase the brightness of the image, what we need to now do is we have to make sure that all the pixels are stretched. No? All the pixels are uniformly distributed. So to distribute this pixel uniformly like this, what you see in the graph below, okay, we are supposed to identify the histogram. So once you identify the histogram of a given image, you find that from this image, all the pixels are on the left-hand side. So to increase the brightness of the image, what we need to do is we have to spread the pixel intensities to that as in shown below. So when you try to spread the pixels across all along from 0 to 255, again reconstruct the image, your image would look bright. Okay? So histogram is a method to basically enhance the contrast of a given image. Let us take a few more examples. Okay? Yeah. So here again, the picture on top is having an histogram, all of them towards left. Okay, that means it is totally dark in color because 0 is dark. Now, when you try to stretch or when you try to normalize the histogram of all the pixels so that it will be able to spread across all the entire range from 0 to 55, this image basically you're able to see more information. You're able to increase the contrast of the image. Okay, and this changes in this image is achieved using a method called histogram equalization. Okay, yes. Now let us take a simple mammogram here. Okay, this is a mammogram, whatever you come across. Okay, so we are trying to now see whether there's a cancer. Okay, in the cells that are available. Now when you try to plot the histogram of this mammogram, okay, if you try to plot the histogram of this mammogram, you find that all the black, okay, all the colors that are in black are on the left hand side. Okay, and some shades here are in between. Okay, and there are also some white shades. Those white shades are at the extreme. Now, mammogram is basically we're trying to do some image processing and identify whether there are any abnormal tissues available. These abnormal tissues may be somewhere located here. Okay, and we have to see whether these abnormal tissues what are located here can be identified. So, by knowing the histogram of this image, we are able to now tell that yes, all the black color here indicates that it is the background of the image. And all the white here, okay, all the white color on the right basically indicates maybe some other part of the body. But this part of the body wherein there is a intensity varying from 100 to 200. This is the place where there may be a tissue that may lead to the presence of cancer in a given mammogram image. So now by processing this part of the image, okay, the image pixels that are between 100 to 250, we can identify whether there are any abnormalities in the image. For example, it is expected that all the cells or all the intensities in this region should be gray in color. But what happens? Maybe no, there may be a small white patch here, or there may be a small white patch here. Whenever there's a small white patch available here, okay, then suddenly there may be a peaking occurring at these locations, or there may peak available in the location, or they may peak available here, or they may peak available here. So such peaking indicates that there is an abnormality in the given tissue. So that helps us in detecting the abnormal activities in a given image. Okay, so histogram is a very important technique for processing the images. See, again, no, this is how multiple examples are considered. Okay. Now we have defined what is meant by histogram. So mathematically, histogram is defined as, okay, yes. See here, at every coordinate of x comma y, we know what would be the intensity of that pixel, and that is denoted as I of x comma y. Okay, now to identify the histogram, which is given as h, okay, h of I indicates that intensity I appears h of I times in the image. So if at all you are able to identify the intensities, if a particular intensity, for example, the intensity value is 20, okay, that is occurring 100 times, and that is what is the histogram of the image. Okay, so that is mathematically represented as h of I is summation x along x and along the y, intensity of x comma y, which is equal to I. Okay, yes. So using this histogram, okay, you can manipulate the images. So if you can take I of x comma y as an image, the intensity levels of that coordinate system, and if you perform a small operation on that, you will convert that image to j of x comma y. Okay, and this process of manipulating the image, considering histogram of an image, is what we call as histogram equalization method. Okay? Yes. So in histogram equalization, there is a concept called cumulative distribution function, CDF. Okay. What is CDF? CDF is mathematically very simple. It is basically h of j divided by number of pixels available in the given image. If you can divide all the pixels, the histogram of an image divided by number of pixels n. For example, let us go back. Yeah. So now I'll take this first. No, there are how many pixels? 3 pixels here. This is histogram of first intensity. I'll divide this entire thing by 9. If I divide this entire thing by 9, that is what is CDF is. Similarly, I'll take the second one, again divide by 9, second one divide by 9, third one divide by 9. Again, keep every pixel divided by 9 because this is histogram now. Okay? So if I keep dividing it by 9, I'll be able to get the CDF function. Okay, that is what is CDF is all about. Okay, again, it is mathematically expressed as this. So by knowing the histogram and by knowing cumulative distribution function, okay, you are trying to actually perform histogram equalization method. Okay, so this is what is actually done using histogram equalization. Okay, you identify histogram, identify CDF, and know identify extract the images from the histogram equalization method. Okay, yes. Let me skip through all this and let us try to do some simple programs in MATLAB. Yes. So if you want to understand what is histogram, I can go to help. HIST equal. So now if you use this function histogram equalization, okay, this is a simple function available there. It performs contrast, enhances the contrast of a given image using histogram equalization. So what are the parameters to be passed for histogram equalization? So you take, for example, an image I. Okay, so we are reading an image I. Yes. So now the image, what you are able to read is a tire image. Okay, then we are trying to perform histogram equalization. Okay, we are performing histogram equalization. Then we try to display the images. Yeah. See, this is the original image what we have. Okay, that is now your input image I. and this is the output j. And we have done histogram equalization using a function called HIST eq. So because of histogram equalization, see, you may not be able to very clearly see the tire, the outer circle. But because of histogram equalization, you are able to identify what is the external tire circle is all about. So you may lose information, but still you are able to identify the objects available in a given image. So what you do, you perform histogram equalization, identify the edges properly, then perform edge detection. After performing edge detection, then you go back to the original image, superimpose that edge on the original image, and then extract the objects. So that is the actual method that is basically used for image processing. So let me repeat it. See, directly extracting the tire from this entire image may not be possible. So what we do, we perform the first step is histogram equalization. So we get an image like this. From this image, we now clearly know that there is change in intensity levels. So this is gray, this is dark gray, and then again light gray, again light gray. So what happens now? Because you're able to identify, you're able to contrast, increase the contrast of the given image. On this image, what you do now is, just a minute. Okay. So this is the basic concept of your edge detection process. Okay. So we followed this method. So today we discussed about two important image processing techniques. The first one is edge detection method. The second one is histogram equalization. Okay. So I told you what is the mathematics behind histogram equalization and edge detection. In histogram equalization, you are trying to identify the number of pixels, or it is basically identifying the probability of the pixels. That is what histogram method is all about. And histogram equalization is you are trying to spread or stretch the histogram of an image so that you're able to make the image dark to light or light to dark. And the edge detection is, I told you, it is a simple differentiation operation. Using this first derivative and second derivative, you're able to identify the maxima and minima point in a given image to identify the edges, or zero crossing to identify the edges. Okay, so this is the concept that we discussed today. Now what we will do is, I have written a small program here. I'll explain the program and share this program so that you understand how this program can help us in performing enhancement of an image. Okay, so what we have done here. Okay, so this is a simple program. Before that, now are you clear with this process, students? Have you followed this histogram equalization and histogram edge detection? Hello, clear ಇದೆಯಪ್ಪ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Karthik, okay, Sushmita, yes. Okay. Yeah, see, sorry, I was did not unmute. See, what happens is in the industry today, for every image processing algorithm, there is a Python package available. In that Python package or in an OpenCV, what happens basically is, if at all you want to identify the object from a given image, for example, you have an object and you want to identify the oranges in a given image. For that, there's a code written and there's a Python program already available. You just have to drag and drop and put it in your main program and run that code. It will identify all the oranges available in a given image. Or no, I want to identify the horses available in a given image. There's a Python program for identifying a horse. So just drag and drop that program, including your main program, run the code. It will give you all the horse available or objects like horse available in a given image. So you don't have to really learn all these aspects. But what happens now? It becomes a black box method of doing things. Black box method is okay. You are trying to do image processing by taking up the programs that have been done by somebody else. But you will not know what is the actual mathematical aspect that is happening within this program. Suppose tomorrow they will ask you, okay, you are able to write a program to identify the horse. Can you only identify the face of a horse? For example, they tell you that identify the face of a horse. Okay, there's a program not available now. So what you will do is again you will keep struggling. Okay, now the program available in Python, ready-made program available in Python is for identifying the entire horse. But how do you write a program for identifying only the face of a horse? So that is where you may not be able to do well and it will take a lot of time. So what happens is by learning the mathematical principles, okay, at least when you start using the program, you know how to take that program and fine tune that program only to identify the face or the sub object in a given image. So that is the reason why you have to know mathematical aspects. Otherwise, I'll tell you, you don't need to know any mathematical concepts. Everything is ready-made available in Google. Okay. No, anybody can do any kind of image processing, but if you do not know the mathematical aspects, it is not possible to customize your design. Okay? So that is the reason why I want you as an engineer to learn the mathematical aspects. Okay. Now, even though a non-engineer, maybe a BCom guy, a BSc guy, or a mechanical guy can do image processing because of the packages that are available in the internet. But you being an engineer, you have to know the mathematical concepts. Okay. Today we learned about two important mathematical concepts. One is that histogram equalization. The second one is edge detection. Now let us see a simple program how to perform enhancement of a given image using the basic concepts. So here what I'm doing is, okay, so I'll tell you what is being done here. Yes, I'm reading an image called IMRead, and then let me tell you what is this image is all about. Yeah, so now this is the image that we are trying to work with. So this is an underwater image. In this underwater image, you find that there is no light because now it is underwater. There's a small light, and if you start going down, it will be completely dark. Okay, so everything will look like blue. Okay, so that is how an underwater image would look like. And you find there's a small object here, a non-living object called tortoise, which can keep moving. And you find that there are multiple corals or rocks and small corals here, and then some rocks here. All of them are here. Okay. Now, this image, assume that I want to identify what are the basic objects available in this image. So you have to now perform image enhancement. Okay. So now to perform image enhancement, suppose if this image is not what you are looking for, you want to have much more information from this. So you are supposed to perform image enhancement. Okay. Let us see how this image enhancement will help us. Okay, algorithm will help us in enhancing the image and detecting the objects like tortoise and differentiate this tortoise with this object available here. Okay, so let us understand how we are going to perform image enhancement using a simple programming concepts. Yeah. Now what I'll do is this image X, if you see roots of X, yes, this image is of size 675 cross 1000 cross 3. There are three frames available in this image. The first frame and second frame and third frame are basically RGB format. Okay, because they are in the form of RGB. Okay, so let us see what are these images separately. I'm reading, opening up a figure 2, and I'm reading first frame. How to read the first frame? All rows, all column, 1. So if I read all rows, 675 pixels are read along the rows, 1000 pixels are read along the columns, and I'll take only the first frame. Okay. Now to read the second frame, I'll put 2 here. To read third frame, I'll put 3 here. So this semicolon implies all rows, comma, all columns, comma, 1. Okay, first frame. Again, X of all rows, all columns, 2, second frame. All rows, all columns, 3, third frame. So I'm trying to read all the 3 frames independently and see what would be the image look like. See, this is the image what you get if you read all these images separately. This is your RGB. This is all blue color. This is a green color and RGB. So this is RGB color that is available there. Yes. Now what we will do is, okay, we will try to convert RGB to LAB. RGB is RGB what we have. LAB is luminous and 2 color components. Okay. To do that, we are setting up a parameter called sRGB2. So I'm trying to write this, execute this code. I'm setting this parameter. Then what I'm doing, using sRGB to lab, I'm converting X to XLab. Okay. Yes. Converting from X to XLab. So when I convert from RGB to luminous and color components, and I again type hoods of X, hoods of hoods, you find that X is 675 cross 1000 cross 3. X lab, the converted data is also 675 cross 1000 cross 3. Still it will have 3 frames, but out of 3 frames, the first frame will be intensity frame. This second and third frame will be color component frame. Let us see how will that look like if you know. Yeah. Now, if you see here, there are 2 images that are available to us. Sorry. This is figure 2, and figure 2 and figure 3. Now, this is RGB, left hand side is RGB, right hand side is LAB. Now, in RGB, what happens? All the objects are present in all the pixels, all the frames, but shade will be different. But what happens in LAB is, you find that only in the first frame, all the informations are captured. In the second and third frame, it will only have the color information. That means now, instead of processing all the images like RGB, we can only process the first image because that is what is having all the information now. So what happens now? The processing time will get reduced. See, if you want to process this image, you have to process R, you have to process G, you have to process B. You have to process all of them independently. But when you convert from RGB to LAB, what you can do is you can only process the L component. And this you can neglect it because this is only going to give you color information. There is no any objects available here. That is the advantage of converting from RGB to LAB. Okay. So when you start processing LAB images, the processing time gets reduced. Okay. Yes. So now let us take technique 1. Okay, we are talking about 3 important techniques here. Technique 1 is, in technique 1, it is contrast adjust using IM adjust. Here what we are doing is, we are defining a constant called maximum luminosity as 100. Then what we do is, we take the L component, L frame of the image and dividing it by maximum intensity, luminosity 100. So that means we are scaling down all of them. Okay. So when you scale down all of them, what happens now? The intensity level reduces. Because the intensity level gets reduces, what happens? It is now trying to slowly move towards black. It is trying to become darker. Okay. Yes. That is what we do here. Then what we do, we will take this XLAB after adjusting only the L frame. We are not touching the A and B frame. We are only adjusting the L frame. And then that entire data is now renamed as X underscore IM adjust. Then we are using a function called IM adjust. And then we are trying to perform, okay, the adjust on L image. And then again converting it from LAB to sRGB. So this is one method. Now in the second method, what we do in the contrast adjustment, whatever we do it on the L frame, we are doing it on all the 3 frames separately. 1, 2, 3, we are trying to do IM adjust. By doing this, let us see what happens now. Okay. Okay, now if you see this, the original image what we had, I just closed it. If you're trying to work only the L component, okay, you're able to see only the objects are contrast adjusted, they're all moving towards black. But if you operate on all the three frames, okay, what happens now is this is all becoming blue, this is again becoming blue, this is all becoming green, and all these objects are becoming red. So you're trying to now, okay, intensify the colors also. So this is what happens in IM adjust. Okay. Yes. There is another method called contrast adjustment using histogram equalization. So here again you are using a function called HIS equal, and you are operating only on the L, and in method 2 you are operating on all the frames. Okay, let us see what happens in this case. So if you see this method, again, no, when you only process L, nothing is possible. But here you're able to contrast adjust all the pixels. Okay. So here you're able to see that this is an object, this is again an object, this is again an object. Okay, you're able to differentiate between multiple objects. Okay. So this also is another method for your enhancing the images. Okay. Yes. Then there is another method called adaptive histogram equalization. So here again, there are two methods that we try to know process. So here in adaptive histogram equalization, you are able to improve the image objects, and but the red colors are all introduced here. All others are basically eliminated because it's all becoming single object. They're all almost eliminated. Wherever the objects are there, only those objects are visible to you. Now, once you are able to identify the objects, then you can get into next method of your edge detection and extract this object from the image. Okay. So this is a simple program which I want you to run and understand what is the concept of histogram equalization. Okay. Yeah. Let me stop here for today, and I'll send this program to all of you. Okay. And let us see whether we can complete this histogram equalization. And then I want all of you to understand how we can further improvise the code that we had earlier. Okay. And by the understanding of edge detection and histogram equalization, can we further improvise that code? We will discuss about that process tomorrow. Okay. Yes. So any doubt you have, students? Have you followed the concepts here today, and also the your MATLAB program? I will share this MATLAB program. Then I'll tell you what we are supposed to actually do. Okay. Then now we'll discuss about how to improvise the traffic sign generator signal detection process, and make it more robust enough to detect all the traffic signs from all the 20 images. Okay. Yeah. Now, before we could wind up, I think many of you have submitted the assignments late. Okay, so this is the status of the assignments. So I hope all of you are able to see this. Okay. See, if you are submitting your assignment later, you'll be losing marks. Okay. So some of you, like for example, Ashwan, Bhumika, Janika, Jyoti, Kalyan, Karthik, all of you have not sent the assignment submitted in time, and some of you have submitted the assignment over email. But anyhow, you have submitted, but still I'll tell you, if at all you are not submitting the assignments within time, you will lose marks. And then now you see, you make sure that there is not no complex things here, all simple things. Just you have to spend extra 1 hour of your time and complete the assignments. Okay. Yeah. If at all you have a doubt, please let me know. I can help you out. Okay. So this class is basically not teaching you MATLAB, but teaching you the mathematical concepts behind image processing algorithms. Right? Okay. So let us go back. If you have any doubts, let us now discuss. Otherwise, we'll stop here. Any doubts you have? Any queries you have?
Sir, in the 3x3 mesh calculation,
Yes. Yes.
how many units will it jump when it going down, sir?
Okay. I think let me tell you how that works.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let us take. Assume that this is your entire image. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm taking this as an entire image now. But I'll illustrate how does that work. Okay. This is your entire image that we have. Now what we'll do, so your mask is 3x3, correct?
Yes, sir.
So now 3x3 means I'll take this part of the mask. I'll place mask here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then after multiplying -1 with all the corresponding pixels background, I'll identify what would be the value of pixel here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That will be the first one. So I cannot identify the pixels along the first row and along the first column, not possible because there is a boundary problem here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then what I will do, I will move this by one row or one column like this. Okay. Then you will identify the next pixel here. Then again I'll move one more. Okay, I'll start from here and move one more round here. One more, 3x3. I'll identify next pixel here. Okay. So you move every column so that all pixels are identified and that pixels is what you're supposed to find out.
Yes, sir.
So that is how your X marks works. Then when you want to go to second one, so again you skip the first one, you start from here.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Then again you go to next one. Okay, like that you keep going. So that is how your X marks works. What about your Y mask? Y mask is first you start from here. Okay, you start from 3x3. Okay, then you go down like this.
Okay, sir.
You're actually going down now. Okay, this is along the Y direction. You will not move along X direction. You will actually go along the Y direction. Next one, you will start from here. Okay, you start from here and then start doing this like this. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that is how the entire thing works out.
Understood.
Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
So any other queries, students? Any other doubts you have, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll send you the programs. You can start working on it. See, what we are doing is now we are trying to slowly, get into the mathematical aspects, and then slowly use these mathematical concepts to develop multiple image processing algorithms. So shall we stop here? Okay, fine then. So let us stop. All these videos will be uploaded. I hope you are able to watch those videos